Commander Elena Torres stood at the viewport of the mining vessel Hyperion, watching the asteroid belt drift past like a river of stone. 20 years of deep space mining operations had taught her that the void was never truly empty, it was full of possibilities, and sometimes, dangers. "Commander, we're picking up unusual readings from Sector 7, Lieutenant Marcus Webb called from his station. His dark fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up a detailed scan of the area. It's like nothing I've seen before." Elena straightened her back, her weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass. At 45, she'd seen her fair share of unusual readings, but something about Webb's tone made her pause. "Define unusual, Lieutenant." "Energy signatures that shouldn't exist out here, ma'am. They're pulsing. Almost like a heartbeat." The bridge crew fell silent. In the distant reaches of the Kuiper belt, any energy signature that wasn't from their own equipment was cause for concern. Elena moved to Webb's station, studying the rhythmic patterns on his screen. "Get me a visual," she ordered, and the main display flickered to life. Among the tumbling rocks and ice, something glinted, something that definitely wasn't natural. Its surface was smooth, geometric, with patterns that spoke of intelligent design. "Attention all hands," Elena's voice carried through the ship's comm system. "This is no longer a standard mining operation. Protocol 7 is now in effect. Protocol 7, First Contact Procedures." The words sent a ripple of excitement and anxiety through the crew. They'd drilled for this, but nobody had ever expected to use it. Dr. James Morrison, the ship's xenoarchaeologist, practically burst onto the bridge. His presence on a mining vessel had been a requirement of their corporate sponsors, though until now, Elena had considered it a waste of resources. "Commander, please tell me that's what I think it is." "Depends on what you think it is, Doctor," Elena replied, not taking her eyes off the display. "Care to enlighten us?" Morrison adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, his hands trembling with excitement. "If these readings are correct, we're looking at non-human technology. And based on the degradation patterns, this could be millions of years old." Chief Engineer Ravi Kapoor's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, we could use the mining drones to secure it. Their magnetic grapples should be strong enough." Elena weighed her options. Corporate protocol demanded they report any significant discoveries immediately, but out here, communications took hours to reach Earth. Whatever this object was, it had waited millions of years, it could wait a few more hours while they secured it. "Do it," she ordered. "But Ravi, I want you monitoring those drones personally. If anything looks off, you pull back immediately." The next 3 hours were tense as they maneuvered the mining drones into position. The object was roughly cylindrical, about the size of a small shuttle, with intricate patterns etched into its metallic surface. As the drones approached, the pulsing energy signature grew stronger. "Energy spike!" Webb suddenly shouted. "It's..." A burst of blue-white light erupted from the object, enveloping the drones and washing over the Hyperion. Every system on the bridge flickered, and for a moment, Elena felt a strange sensation, as if something vast and ancient had just taken notice of them. When the light faded, the object had changed. Lines of light traced along its surface, forming patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. And in Elena's mind, she heard, or perhaps felt, something that could only be described as an awakening. "Everyone okay?" she called out, checking her crew. They nodded, though all looked shaken. "Commander," Morrison whispered, his face pale. "I don't think we found this artifact by accident. I think it was waiting for us." Before Elena could respond, the object began to move under its own power, its surface now alive with swirling patterns of light. It oriented itself toward the Hyperion, and a beam of energy shot forth, not as a weapon, but as a transmission. The ship's computers began filling with data, star charts, mathematical formulae, and what appeared to be a message. Morrison worked frantically at his station, running the alien symbols through every translation algorithm they had. After several tense minutes, he looked up, his eyes wide with wonder and fear. "Commander, I can only make out parts of it, but it's a warning. And an invitation." He swallowed hard. "It says, the darkness comes. Humanity must be ready." Elena felt the weight of history settling onto her shoulders. Whatever they'd found out here in the void, it was going to change everything. She thought of Earth, of humanity's relatively brief journey among the stars, and knew that their species' childhood was about to end. "Send the first contact signal to Earth," she ordered. "And get me everything you can on that message. Something tells me we're going to need it." As the crew rushed to comply, Elena returned to the viewport, watching the ancient artifact pulse with its mysterious light. In all her years in space, she'd never felt smaller, or more aware of humanity's potential. The void had given up one of its secrets, but Elena suspected this was only the beginning. Whatever came next would test humanity in ways they couldn't imagine. But as she looked at her crew, seeing their determination and curiosity, she knew one thing: they were ready to face it. What they didn't know was that across the vast expanse of space, other beings were receiving similar signals. The game board was being set, and humanity had just been dealt its first hand in a cosmic game that had been waiting eons to begin. The artifact's light pulsed once more, stronger this time, and Elena couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, something ancient and powerful was watching, waiting to see what they would do next. The next few hours would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of their entire species. And in the depths of space, the darkness stirred, sensing that its long wait might finally be coming to an end. The awakening. The next 48 hours aboard the Hyperion were a blur of activity. The artifact, now secured in the ship's largest cargo bay, continued its rhythmic pulsing, filling the space with an ethereal blue glow. Dr. Morrison hadn't left its vicinity since its retrieval, his usual methodical approach replaced by an almost feverish enthusiasm. "It's responding to us," Morrison announced during the emergency briefing. He projected a hologram of the artifact's surface patterns, which shifted and changed as he spoke. "More specifically, it's responding to our brain waves." Elena leaned forward in her chair, studying the projection. "You're saying it's sentient?" "Not exactly." Morrison adjusted his glasses, a habit he'd developed when excited. "It's more like a key searching for a lock. And somehow, human neural patterns are that lock." Lieutenant Webb cleared his throat. "That's when things get weird, Commander." "Show her, document." Morrison nodded and played a recording. The artifact's surface patterns aligned perfectly with human brain wave patterns during REM sleep. "It's not just responding to us, it's trying to communicate on a fundamental level. And it's getting stronger," Ravi added from his station. "The energy output has increased by 300% since we brought it aboard. But here's the really interesting part: it's not drawing power from any source we can detect." Elena was about to respond when the ship's AI, Arya, interrupted. "Commander, we're detecting approaching vessels. 3 signatures, moving at FTL speeds." "Classification?" Elena demanded, already moving toward the bridge. "Unknown configuration. They're not matching any known human designs." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as the crew took their stations. Elena watched the tactical display as 3 ships dropped out of FTL, their designs unlike anything humanity had encountered. They were organic-looking, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to ripple like liquid metal. "They're hailing us," Webb announced, his voice tight with tension. Elena straightened her uniform. "Put them through." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a being that looked almost serpentine, with iridescent scales and multiple eyes arranged in a mesmerizing pattern. When it spoke, its words were translated by an unseen mechanism. "We are the Nexari," the being announced. "You have awakened the beacon. We have come to guide." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "I am Commander Elena Torres of the mining vessel Hyperion. We've only just discovered this artifact." The beacon, the Nexary interrupted, has slumbered for millions of your years, waiting for a species with the correct neural resonance. You are the first to activate it since the precursors vanished. In the cargo bay, the artifact's pulsing suddenly intensified. Morrison's voice came over the comm, breathless with excitement. Commander, you need to see this. The artifact had begun projecting images, star maps, technical diagrams, and what appeared to be scenes from an ancient war. The Nexary watched through the video feed, their multiple eyes widening. The beacon shows you the truth, they said. The darkness that consumed the precursors approaches once more. But you humans have something they did not. And what's that? Elena asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. Adaptability, the Nexary replied. The precursors were beings of pure logic. When the darkness came with chaos and destruction, they could not comprehend it. But your species, you thrive on chaos. You embrace it. You transform it. The artifact's projections shifted, showing scenes of human history, their struggles, their triumphs, their endless capacity to face the impossible and survive. Elena realized with a start that it had been studying them even as they studied it. Commander, Morrison called again, his voice shaking. The artifact, it's not just a beacon. It's a key to precursor technology. And it's showing us how to use it. The Nexary's expression changed to something Elena couldn't quite read. We have watched your kind for centuries, waiting to see if you would find the beacon. Now you must choose. Will you accept the responsibility it offers? Will you stand against the darkness? Before Elena could respond, proximity alarms blared. More ships were arriving, dozens of them, their designs angular and aggressive, a sharp contrast to the Nexary vessels. The Kethera, the Nexary hissed. They seek to claim the beacon's power for themselves. They believe they can control the darkness rather than fight it. Elena's mind raced. They were outgunned, outsized, and caught in the middle of a conflict they barely understood. But humanity hadn't come this far by backing down from challenges. Ravi, she called over the comm, what's the status of those neural interfaces Morrison was working on? Prototype only, Commander. Untested. They'll have to do. She turned to the Nexary. We'll fight. But we'll do it our way. The artifact's pulsing reached a crescendo, and suddenly Elena understood, it hadn't just been waiting for humanity to find it. It had been waiting for humanity to be ready for what came next. As the Kethera ships moved into attack position, Elena gave the order that would change the course of human history forever, begin neural interface sequence. Let's show them what humanity can do. The battle that was about to unfold would be unlike anything in human experience. But as Elena watched her crew prepare, she saw no fear in their eyes, only determination and that uniquely human spark of adaptability that had brought them to the stars in the first place. The darkness was coming, but humanity would face it standing tall, armed with the legacy of an ancient civilization and their own indomitable spirit. The real question wasn't whether they would survive, but what they would become in the process. Neural interface active, Morrison announced, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. The artifact's energy now flowed through specialized conduits throughout the Hyperion, guided by the crew's collective consciousness through hastily installed interface nodes. Elena felt it immediately, a sensation like diving into a warm ocean of knowledge. The artifact's ancient wisdom merged with human intuition, creating something entirely new. Around her, the bridge crew experienced the same connection, their minds linking with the ship's systems in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Kethera vessels launching fighters, Webb reported, his hands dancing across controls that now felt like extensions of his own body. Multiple weapon signatures powering up. The Nexary ships moved to defensive positions around the Hyperion, their organic-looking hulls rippling with energy. We will shield you while you adapt, their commander transmitted. But hurry. The Kethera do not grant the luxury of time. Elena's consciousness expanded through the ship's systems, feeling every bulkhead and conduit as if they were her own nerves and vessels. The artifact's energy suffused everything, waiting to be shaped by human will. But how? Stop thinking like a human, Commander, Morrison suggested, sensing her struggle through their shared connection. The artifact doesn't respond to linear tactical thinking. It responds to intuition, to the connections we make instinctively. A barrage of energy weapons from the Kethera fleet illuminated space. The Nexari shields flared as they absorbed the impact, but Elena could sense they wouldn't last long. She needed to act now. Then she remembered something from her childhood, playing with soap bubbles, watching them split and reform, their surfaces tension creating perfect spheres. An idea formed, not in words but in pure concept, and the artifact responded. The Hyperion's hull began to shimmer, its metal surface taking on the same liquid metal properties as the Nexari ships. But this was different, this was human innovation meeting precursor technology. The ship's structure became fluid while maintaining its integrity, able to flex and flow like a living thing. Now that's what I call adaptation, Ravi's voice came through with a hint of awe. Through their shared connection, Elena could feel him analyzing and improving the process in real time. The first wave of Kethera fighters reached them, their weapons blazing. Instead of trying to dodge, Elena let instinct guide her. The Hyperion's hull rippled, the energy weapons passing through temporary gaps that sealed immediately afterward. It was like watching water flow around stones. "They're not going to like that," Webb commented with grim satisfaction. He was right, the Kethera fleet's organized attack pattern dissolved into chaos as they tried to adapt to this impossibility. But the Kethera weren't finished. Their largest vessel, a dagger-shaped monstrosity, moved forward. Its bow split open like a blooming flower, revealing what could only be described as a gravity weapon. "All hands, brace!" Elena shouted, both verbally and through their neural link. The weapon fired, creating a localized gravitational singularity that began pulling everything toward it. The Nexari ships struggled against the pull, their engines flaring. Two smaller vessels were caught in the effect, their hulls crumpling under the immense gravitational forces. Elena felt their crew's terror through some newfound empathic sense, another gift from the artifact. That's when she felt something else through the neural interface, not just the connection to her ship and crew, but to the very fabric of spacetime around them. The precursors hadn't just built advanced technology, they had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. "Everyone," she called out, "stop fighting the gravitational pull. Think about surfing waves." Her crew's confusion turned to understanding as the shared neural link conveyed her intent. Together, they let the Hyperion fall toward the singularity, but with purpose. The artifact's energy merged with the gravitational forces, creating a slingshot effect. The ship's liquid metal hull stretched and condensed, using the gravity well to build up potential energy. "Now!" Elena commanded. The Hyperion snapped back like a rubber band, the combined force of gravity and precursor technology hurling them toward the Kethera command ship at relativistic speeds. Their liquid metal hull formed into a perfect penetrating shape moments before impact. The collision was spectacular. The Hyperion pierced through the Kethera vessel's shields as if they weren't there, their modified hull protecting them from the impact. They emerged from the other side as the enemy ship's gravity weapon overloaded, creating a cascade of explosions along its length. "Status report." Elena called out as they stabilized their position. "Hull integrity at 92% and regenerating," Ravi reported with undisguised glee. "Whatever this technology is, it's learning from us as much as we're learning from it." The remaining Kethera ships began to retreat, their confidence shattered by the display of power they'd just witnessed. But Elena knew this was just the beginning. Through the neural interface, she could sense the artifact conveying more urgent information, warnings about the true threat that was still to come. "Commander," Morrison said quietly, "the artifact is showing me something. The Kethera, they're not running away. They're going to warn the darkness." We've just announced our presence to the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known. Elena looked at her crew, seeing in their eyes the same mix of fear and determination she felt. They had passed their trial by fire, but the real test was still to come. Humanity had just entered a war that had been raging since before Earth formed, and they had chosen their side. Then we better make sure we're ready when it arrives, she said, feeling the artifact's energy pulse in agreement. Because something tells me we haven't seen anything yet. In the aftermath of the battle, the Hyperion's cargo bay had become a nexus of activity. The artifact now floated in the center of a complex web of holographic displays, each showing different aspects of the precursor legacy. Elena watched as Morrison and Ravi worked together, their neural interfaces allowing them to process information at unprecedented speeds. It's not just a weapon system, Morrison explained, his eyes reflecting the shifting light of the holograms. The precursors were trying to create a defense against something that exists outside normal spacetime. The darkness, Elena said, the word carrying new weight after their recent battle. Through their neural link, she could feel the artifact's response to the name, a sensation like ancient wounds reopening. The Nexary commander, who had introduced himself as Sayrath, moved sinuously through the holographic displays. The darkness is consciousness without form, hunger without end. It devours reality itself, breaking down the barriers between dimensions. That's why the precursors created the artifact, Morrison interjected. It's not just a beacon, it's part of a vast network designed to reinforce the fabric of spacetime itself. But they needed something they didn't have. Imagination, Ravi finished, his hands moving through a complex series of calculations. The precursors could build the technology, but they couldn't conceive of how to use it effectively against something that defied their logical understanding. Elena felt a chill as the artifact shared a vision through their neural connection, the fall of the precursor civilization. She saw vast cities of crystalline geometry crumbling as reality itself warped and twisted. The precursors, beings of pure logic and order, could only watch in horror as chaos incarnate consumed their perfectly ordered universe. But how did they know about us? Webb asked from his position near the artifact. How did they know humanity would be different? The answer came not in words but in images, countless civilizations rising and falling across the galaxy, each testing their neural patterns against the artifact's interface, each failing to achieve true synchronization. Until humanity, with their unique blend of logic and intuition, order and chaos, finally matched the required resonance. We're not just using the technology, Elena realized, watching the patterns of energy flow between the artifact and her crew. We're completing it. The precursors built the framework, but they left room for adaptation, for innovation. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Arya's voice carried an unusual note of urgency. Multiple spatial anomalies detected. The fabric of spacetime is fraying. The holographic displays shifted, showing tears appearing in the very structure of reality around them. Through these tears, Elena caught glimpses of something that defied description, a writhing darkness that seemed to consume light itself. It's beginning, Sayrath announced, his multiple eyes widening. The Kethera's message has been received. The darkness comes. But Elena was already moving, her mind racing with possibilities as the artifact's knowledge merged with human creativity. Ravi, remember that slingshot maneuver we did with the gravity weapon? What if we could do that with spacetime itself? Through their shared neural connection, understanding bloomed. The precursor technology wasn't just about defending against the darkness, it was about reshaping reality itself to reject its influence. Like antibodies fighting an infection in the body of the universe. The network, Morrison breathed, seeing the pattern. All those beacons the precursors left behind, they're not just warning systems. They're nodes in a vast web that could potentially rewrite the laws of physics themselves. But we'd need to activate them all, Webb pointed out. And we don't even know where they are. Elena felt the artifact pulse in response, and new information flooded through their neural interface. Star maps appeared, showing the locations of dozens, hundreds, thousands of beacons scattered throughout the galaxy. Each one dormant, waiting for the right neural pattern to awaken it. "We don't need to find them all," she said, understanding dawning. "We just need to find enough to create a resonance cascade. Like ripples in a pond, but with the fabric of reality." "Commander," Seratha's voice carried both hope and warning, "what you're suggesting has never been attempted. The energy required would be astronomical." "Good thing we're in space then," Elena replied with a grim smile. "How long until those spatial tiers reach critical mass?" "Hours at most," Webb reported, monitoring the expanding anomalies. Elena looked at her crew, feeling their determination through the neural link. They had come too far to back down now. "Send word to Earth. We need every ship with compatible neural interfaces out here as soon as possible. And contact the Nexary fleet, we'll need their help to reach the nearest beacons in time." "And if we fail?" Morrison asked quietly. Through the neural interface, Elena shared her certainty with the crew. The precursors failed because they couldn't imagine victory against something that defied their understanding of reality. But imagination? That's humanity's specialty. As if in response to her words, the artifact's pulsing grew stronger, more focused. The Hyperion's liquid metal hull rippled with newfound purpose, and Elena felt the ship's systems aligning with their collective will. The final battle for reality itself was about to begin, and humanity would face it not just with advanced technology, but with their greatest weapon, the ability to imagine the impossible and make it real. The void between stars had become a battlefield unlike any in human history. Hundreds of ships, both human and Nexary, moved in perfect synchronization through the quantum tears that riddled spacetime. Each vessel now carried a fragment of the original artifact's power, their crews linked in a vast neural network that spanned light years. Elena stood on the Hyperion's bridge, her consciousness extended through this network, feeling every ship, every crew member, every pulse of precursor energy. The last 12 hours had been a desperate race to activate as many beacons as possible before the darkness could fully manifest. "Resonance cascade at 60%, Webb reported, his voice echoing both physically and through the neural link. "We've got 19 beacons activated and synchronized." Through the viewport, reality itself seemed to be unraveling. The darkness poured through the tiers like liquid night, consuming light and matter alike. Where it touched, the fundamental constants of the universe began to break down. "The Kethera ships are approaching," Morrison announced. "They're different." Elena saw them through the fleet's shared consciousness, the once proud warships now twisted and corrupted, their crews merged with their vessels in grotesque parodies of the human precursor interface. The darkness had remade them into its own image. "They're not the enemy anymore," Elena realized, feeling a deep sadness through the neural network. "They're victims. The darkness doesn't just consume reality, it corrupts consciousness itself." Seratha's voice resonated through the link. "The precursors foresaw this. It's why they created the beacons to respond only to minds that could resist such corruption. Minds that could embrace chaos without being consumed by it." The transformed Kethera fleet opened fire, their weapons now shooting beams of pure entropy that caused reality to disintegrate wherever they struck. Several human and Nexary ships were hit, their crews crying out through the neural link as they felt their very existence begin to unravel. "We can't wait for more beacons," Ravi called out, his mind already racing through calculations. "The resonance cascade has to happen now." Elena felt the truth of his words. Through the neural network, she could sense the darkness probing their defenses, testing their resolve, trying to find ways to corrupt their shared consciousness. But instead of fighting this invasion, she had an idea. "Everyone," she broadcast through the network, "stop trying to block it out. Let it in, but on our terms." Confusion rippled through the fleet, but trust ran deeper. As one, they opened their minds to the encroaching darkness while maintaining their connection to the precursor technology. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Elena felt the darkness rush into their shared consciousness like a tidal wave of chaos, but instead of drowning in it, they began to understand it. The darkness wasn't just destruction, it was pure potential, the quantum foam from which reality itself emerged. The precursors had seen it as an enemy because they couldn't comprehend a force that defied their perfect order. The beacons, Morrison gasped, understanding flooding through the link. They weren't meant to destroy the darkness, they were meant to channel it. Through their combined consciousness, Elena directed the fleet into a complex formation. The activated beacons pulsed in harmony, their energy patterns matching the quantum fluctuations of the darkness itself. Instead of trying to fight chaos with order, they were creating a new synthesis. Resonance cascade at 80%, Webb announced. Reality is reshaping itself. The transformed Kethera ships charged forward, but they were too late. The human Nexary fleet had achieved what the precursors never could, a perfect balance between order and chaos, logic and intuition, destruction and creation. Energy surged through the network of beacons, using the darkness's own power to rewrite the laws of physics in their vicinity. Space-time began to heal itself, but not by returning to its previous state. Instead, it evolved into something new, a reality that could accommodate both order and chaos in stable harmony. The corrupted Kethera vessels began to transform again, their crews freed from the darkness's influence as the new laws of physics took hold. The quantum tears sealed themselves, not by force, but through a kind of universal metamorphosis. "It's beautiful," Elena whispered, watching through both human eyes and the vast neural network as reality stabilized into its new form. The void between stars was no longer empty, it shimmered with possibilities, visible manifestations of quantum potential that human minds could now perceive and interact with. In the aftermath, as the fleet regrouped and began to assess the changes they had wrought, Elena received a transmission from Earth. The changes weren't limited to their local space, the entire galaxy was experiencing the same transformation. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, they had helped the universe itself evolve. So what happens now? Webb asked, his voice filled with wonder as he looked out at the transformed cosmos. Elena felt the answer through the neural network, a shared vision of the future that combined human determination, Nexary wisdom, and the legacy of the precursors. Now we build something new. Not an empire of pure order like the precursors, not a realm of pure chaos like the darkness wanted. Something uniquely human, a civilization that dances between the two. The artifact pulsed one final time, its purpose fulfilled. But its energy lived on in the neural network that now connected not just their fleet, but all of humanity reaching out into the stars. They had inherited the precursor's legacy and transformed it into something even its creators couldn't have imagined. As the Hyperion turned toward home, Elena knew that this wasn't an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the stars not by conquering the chaos, but by embracing it, understanding it, and using it to fuel their own evolution. The dawn of their new era had arrived, and its light would shine across the galaxy for eons to come.